Up. Seth, it doesn't look like you were at the coffee shop slash Greyhound hub. Somebody had maybe it was Frank.
I think it was Frank.
Yeah, it'd be Frank. It's Frank's. We cause problems. Anyway, so let's get started. So today we have an informal conversation on the Clean Network. I'm Frank Nepal at NOAA's Climate Program Office, and we are being recorded. So let's start off our consecutive weekly telecons of the Clean Network. Tamara, I see you. We've been doing this so long, so it's nice to see you again. So I think if I'm looking around the room here, I think we all know each other. There's Frank on the travel. It looks like Starbucks. It's what I'm getting. I'm getting Starbucks out of that background. So I think we all know each other. Carrie, do you know everybody here? Would it be helpful? You don't need an introduction, like, hello.
Carrie's on a lot of these calls.
Yeah, I'm just making sure, I don't want to make any assumptions. Seth, you good? All right, cool. So Frank, you have an announcement, or that's some serious background sound you got there, Frank?
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I can hide the microphone under my collar. Is that better?
Yes. If you have to go clandestine,
I'll keep myself unmuted.
Okay, that might be helpful, Frank. So any announcements? And while you're doing that, you can put chat topics that you think might be worthy of getting in there. Did I see Eric? Did I see your hand go up? Yep. Use both of them. Digital hands, real hands.
Three of them,
yeah.
virtual and
throw them all up there.
two real ones, right? Let's see, two things. One, I mentioned it last week, but we're going to be running, it's through my organization, Community Resources for Science in the Bay Area. We're offering a 2-day climate institute at the very beginning of August. And we're recruiting for that right now. It's for K-12 educators, informal and formal, or community-based and school-based. And we'd love to, it's going to be in person. I don't know about the digital side of the house and whether we'll try and make some aspects of it virtual. I think that's a TBD. Certainly the stuff that we come up with, and I'll post a PDF flyer in the chat in a second about it. Hopefully a lot of it will just be open source material that anyone can use. I'm going to drop it on the Clean Listserv as well, just for recruiting purposes. And then the second thing is, and I see Seth on the call too, we got approved for involvement in the 10 Strands curriculum, statewide curriculum development project. So we're, as part of a larger, it'll be a huge consortium of providers from all over the country. So we're really excited about that, helping drive that effort at the state level under the direction of 10 Strands. They just hired a director of curriculum development who's going to be onboarding, I think, at the middle of June. So some great stuff, some great things happening, and any support you all can provide around the institute recruitment. It's for 20 to 30 folks. We're still kind of working on budget and stuff.
Thank you, Eric. That's great. Please share the PDF. And the listserv's great. Obviously, Gina can promote it through our social media channels, and make sure the rest of the network. I would definitely put it out to the network. Just a quick segue, and then Jim, I'm going to come to you. The 10 Strands initiative, given that they're hiring and they've made decisions and all that kind of stuff, it probably would be a good idea to ask Amy or Karen to join the Clean Network to just kind of brief us on what's going on, what they're doing, what's the timing, who's involved, whatever they feel like they could share, so that the best work that's available in the wider community is shared into that initiative. One other thing a lot of you may not be tracking is this summer, the governor out of New Jersey proposed an Office of Climate Change Education in the Department of Education, New Jersey, not national, state, and would have $5 million for climate change education for New Jersey. So, we are starting to see these kinds of state initiatives playing critical roles in this work. The 10 Strands is one example, New Jersey is another, Climb Time up in Washington State is a third, and then there's others that are emerging as well. So, Eric, please keep us in the know if you support that idea. Let's follow up with Amy and Karen. Jim?
Great, thanks, Frank. So now folks know that very nice news. So I'm not sure if Katie was going to bring this up, but I see no thanks. Each year there is an event which is featuring hundreds of federally funded programs that have to do with STEM. It's the STEM for All Video Showcase, sponsored by the National Science Foundation. This year, Clean took top honors at the very top level of honors among 267 programs picked out as being among the best presentations, the very best presentations. I would say that, thank you, Katie. I would say that one thing of kudos of the intelligence of everybody, including you, Frank, at Clean, is it kind of pays to have an interesting video when you have people talking about how great you are, because of the other 267, probably about 230 were tooting their own horn, right? It's like, we're going to tell you about our program, instead of from the point of view of students and educators saying, look, this is what we're doing and we couldn't do it without Clean, right? I mean, I think that's a characteristic of why it was such a favorite. I'll also just mention that there's a program that consistently wins, that goes by different names, but learning, they call themselves these days, learning by observation and pitching in. So it's kind of what's that about? But they get like 100 times more views than the average viewer. I mean, they just blow everything away. And they're very much wanting to work with Clean and what we're doing and things. So there was just a natural collaboration. So that's kind of to me, that's almost an equal thing of, we're working with these really popular, great programs, but hey, anyone says about what Clean does in the federal level program, it's like, it's seen as one of the most exciting programs of all, NSF, NOAA, NASA, everything. I think that's pretty good. Later, I'll put in the chat just a thing of an example of a virtual summit that's happening out of New York. But I think I've taken up enough time not to do that. But it's a very exciting program that's going on that we'll be a part of as well. Thank you.
And I just want to toot Jim's horn for him. He put together a great video the last 2 years for Clean to be part of the STEM for All video showcase, and we really appreciate it. But I just wanted to also say that people were really excited about the work that he's been doing with students with the Climate Club in DC, and we actually had one of his students be a presenter and talk on the forum, and it was really exciting to see people interact with the students, and then they do such a good job touting Clean as a good resource for their teachers and students, which we really appreciate. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, that we really appreciate Jim, and that people are really excited about the work he's doing in DC as well with the video. So I'll put the link to the video in the chat.
Jim, I think one of the things that makes that video work even better, and I just finished reading the comments this morning, is it's an integration of a group of things, right? Natalie and her work at Lowell, these amazing students in the Emergent Club, the work you're doing, and then Clean. So it was, you wove together a group of things with purpose and intent that led to an impactful outcome. And so, there's a lot of work that you and your team have been leading for a very long time that showed up there well, in addition to Clean. So I think that, I think one of the things that made it really powerful was it was a strong weaving of things. And I think that's where the Clean Network really shines, is where we weave, as opposed to we highlight our own thing over and over again. So it's a bigger compliment, but it would not happen without you. So thank you, Jim, for your leadership. All right, we're just doing announcements right now. Any other announcements? Anything else that needs to be just something new? Seth, is there something big happening this summer with climate generation that maybe you might want to just remind everybody about?
I feel like probably everybody has heard about the Summer Institute for Climate Change Education that will happen the week of July 18th through 22nd. Virtual Institute, would love for folks to connect. We've shared a lot on Clean, and I will actually be presenting more about it in 2 weeks, hopefully, if it fits in the schedule here at the Clean call.
Seth, how are we doing on? Are we on track with last year, or are we a little bit behind, a little bit ahead? You know.
Yes, registration for any big event is always a nerve-wracking thing. We are on track, but last year at this time we just went way up, and it'll be interesting to see, as we know educators are surprised. I don't know about surprisingly, but even more burnt out than last year. Yeah, still getting a lot of great participation, but definitely we'll see what actually happens with all those numbers, but we're at about 110 right now.
So a push from all of us might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, and I can go ahead and share a little bit of information in the chat. Thanks.
That might be good. Tamara, I see your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to let everybody know that I was at the Harvard program that I was part of, the Advanced Leadership Initiative. I went to their current cohorts meeting, and it's been nice to see this transition from the year I was there, where I was one of the few people involved in climate change of any kind, education or otherwise. There are a lot this year, and I ended up connecting with a lot of people who were really intrigued by the Clean collection. There was one fellow there. He was an admiral in the Navy of Chile, and was Undersecretary of Defense in Chile. And he is interested in his work to bring climate information and educational materials to the people of Chile. So I'm making these connections with all of these different groups, and so there's opportunities to move, get Clean out into a whole nother realm of people who have not historically been involved in climate change or climate change education.
So that's good news, because Katie is in the process of translating the entire Clean collection, all the resources, into Spanish. It'll be done probably tomorrow.
Really? That's great.
No, I'm just playing. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No, I actually showed him. The other thing I showed him was En-ROADS, and that's been translated into 11 languages, and including Spanish. And so he was quite intrigued with that also.
Frank's joking, because we will never translate all of the resources in the collections.
Obviously
we can't. They're not necessarily our resources.
I was thinking you were just talking about our site, not the resources themselves.
And we have been working on that a lot. So I will just throw out there, we did a big push a couple of years ago and translated all the teaching guidance pages. So the information about climate and energy for teachers, we translated all of those. And this summer we've got another translator, and we are working on translating a bunch of the sort of PD resources pages. So our elementary guidance and elementary teaching guidance pages, and some of other, hopefully we'll get to the other ones as well, including Karen's that she put together on sort of managing the controversy, how to talk to folks who are resistant to talk about climate change in the classroom, and the culturally relevant page I put together highlighting the Live in Landscapes project. And yeah, we'll see what else we can get to, but some of our other PD resources pages we're hoping to get translated this time.
Okay, great.
And we do know from our Google Analytics that Clean, the portal has an international impact. It's not designed as such, but it is serving a wider international purpose than just the national effort. So Eric, you have a topic, you have another announcement. I forgot.
But no, thank you. Yeah, no, a reaction to Tamara, your about Chile. So I have this emerging project idea. I don't know if some of you know, I did that video last year, kind of unpacking my own climate story and in the context of other climate zones like the Bay Area. And so I have this emerging idea for COP27 to create, work with a consortium of folks to create a series of videos that would talk about what folks are doing in these 5 climate zones that are the Mediterranean climate zones. So kind of similar to the video that I had a chance to create with digital storytellers, but Chile is one of them. Central Chile, Santiago, that central
Mhm.
part of Chile. So I'll put the PDF of the project kind of idea in the chat as well.
Okay.
Fantastic. Any other announcements? Rick, you're new to me. Are you the first time being here? You've been here many times and I just wasn't available. I'm your facilitator today.
No problem. Hi, everybody. I did meet some of you a few months ago. I was able to join a gathering. My name is Rick Reynolds. I'm the founder of Engaging Every Student, based out here in Oregon. I'm sorry I missed the last couple meetings. Sometimes I get the notices kind of late because the digest comes to me. I got it a little bit after 10 a.m. here in Oregon. I was like, oh, I really got to get on there. So sorry for being late, but I'm glad to have made it again today. And I have a passion for integrating environmental education with the other content areas. I've been an educator almost 30 years and developed a lot of different curriculum, a lot of different multimedia kind of resources too. But one of them I'm really excited about right now is a video game. We just found out we got a grant from the CO2 Foundation to create it. I mentioned that we were just starting to plan it out, and we have a lot of different partners working on it the last time I joined. But basically, the working title is The Astounding Adventures of Marco the Water Molecule. And it's going to follow Marco and his water molecule friends through the water cycle and the oceans and kind of connect it all together with the importance of water, and then get into how the water cycle is changing in extreme weather. And we'll have a few minutes of chaos, and then it leads up to, okay, what are we going to do about it, basically? So the kids team up with Marco and the water molecule friends to take action to, help reduce emissions, help activate their communities, and all different steps that can be taken to adapt for climate change, as well as taking action and reducing emissions and mitigation. So anyway, that's one I'm super excited about. If anybody's interested, I can keep you in the loop. I'll just drop my email address here in chat. Just shoot me an email, or if you send me your email, I'll be glad to keep you posted. Part of the grant will fund stipends for educators to participate. So we'll be able to be more equitable and bring in a big tent of folks to contribute. We are going to be planning, I don't have the money yet, but I've been told it's coming. So as soon as it's all set, we'll convene a group of folks who are interested. And, I know a lot of you are very active and have been for a while and have great ideas. So I'd love it if any or all of you wanted to participate in the planning process. So yeah, any questions?
So one quick point, Rick, just to know with the Clean Network, we're like around 800 people. The number of people who can make this time on a Tuesday is a small subset of the wider group. So I would highly encourage you to use the Clean listserv, and to send out that offer and that request out through the Clean listserv. That way you're going to get potentially a larger activity, and sometimes we in the network don't know that that's happening because it goes directly to you as opposed to the wider network. So I think that we've seen that be a productive way to get a wider. So this, yes, but so I'll leave it open to. I just want to invite you to that. So let's kick Rick's offer. Any other questions for Rick?
All right, thanks everybody. I'll keep you posted.
Fantastic. It looks like that might move to the chat, if not to directly to you in the email. So any other announcements? So let's take topics. All right, Patrick. I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on, Patrick?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I have like leftover announcements to share because it's been so long since I've been able to jump on. I was teaching creative climate communication this spring, and that conflicted with the clean call timing, so haven't been able to be here. But a couple things that I'll put links to in the chat. A lot of you over the past couple years seen Beth and I present on the creative climate change curriculum and or the adapted drawdown solutions for 5th grade learners. Those projects are finished and we've got them up on a website, enactingclimate.org. I'll throw that in the chat. Website's still a little rough. Our priority was getting those up and accessible rather than web design to start. So don't judge too harshly there. We're going to get on that side of it next. And then we did our stand-up comedy on climate change again this spring and had an awesome show. And I'll put the link to that full show in the chat if you're interested.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Nice to have you back. So if you don't have a topic, I got one that kicked in over at Noah.
And congrats on graduating in case you haven't been here since that happened. Sorry, real quick.
Thanks, Kitty.
Celebrate early and often. So we at NOAA, the term climate literacy is being used a lot with other agencies with their compliance with climate adaptation plans, climate plans. They want to make their workforce more climate literate. They keep on coming to us at NOAA to help them with Department of Treasury and state and so clearly climate is a hot topic. Sorry for the pun, but it triggered a question in a process that was intriguing to some of us at NOAA about this. How do we know we're making a difference in climate literacy? We talk about this often, but how do we know we're making a difference? And the only answer I could give was back in 2010, Yale did the climate knowledge survey, not the climate opinion surveys, the climate knowledge survey. And then a group of us, including Tamara and me, worked with them on a teen version of the survey. But to my knowledge, they've never run that knowledge survey since. And so, and there are other elements of climate literacy that probably we didn't look at. But remember, the climate literacy guide, the one that most people use, came out in 2009. So it does open a question of whether or not there is a need for a kind of I don't know what the periodicity is, because the global warming in the American Mind survey comes out twice a year. I don't think you need a knowledge survey twice a year. It doesn't move like that. But we don't have a new measure. We had 10 and nothing for 12 years. So it's really hard to know whether or not we're making progress. We're all that kind of stuff. So
Is this of teenagers? Did you say it was of teenagers?
So the one I put, the link I put in there was Tamara, you and I worked on this with Tony Lizowitz on the teen knowledge survey from 2011. The climate knowledge survey for adults was 2010 that Yale did. So it's just an open question. Do you see value in us? I mean that in a global sense, not in a NOAA or my program sense. But is there value for there being an updated climate knowledge or a climate literacy survey, a public?
I think that because you will have an entirely different group of people, it won't be that one person, people have learned more, the same people have learned more, it'll be a totally different group, which means that it will be more of a measure of how much we have actually infiltrated into the educational system, because it's totally new group of people.
And I had to counsel this because we push all forms of education, right? So remember, the Climate Matters program, which is the broadcast meteorologists educating their media markets, that's an important education intervention. The informal education, the formal, the higher education, there's lots of pieces of this puzzle. K-12, youth, community, you name it, parks. But what we don't have is a good understanding of, are we making progress? are we backsliding? Are we doing surprisingly well in certain areas? What, we just don't have anything to, when people say, we're getting reviewed right now, specifically my part of NOAA, and they're like, so how are you doing on climate literacy? And we're like, we're making lots of progress, but we don't know against what. And we're not the only actors in this by any stretch of the imagination. So I've seen one thumb from Seth saying, yes, this is important and should be done. It wouldn't be, I see two.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, I guess.
It would be
Anybody saying
valuable,
like
I
this is a
think.
bad idea? It would be valuable to get this done. All right.
Yeah, I mean, even just for the program I just mentioned, we're hoping we'll have a really big impact, get lots of educators trained, get tens of thousands of students doing this. It would be really helpful for me personally in this program with our partners to know, where we are right now. And then after we hopefully pull this thing off after 10 years, where we are. And of course, we would only be one tiny part of it, but that would be nice data to share with our funders and staff, just for one little use case scenario for that data.
Appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. I just put the link to the adult knowledge survey in there. How often? I mean, clearly 12 years have passed for the
Once
adult.
a year. Yeah.
Annual?
Yep.
Biannual, like twice every 2 years. It's expensive. We don't actually know. I've already asked Tony what the cost is of this. Like, give me a ballpark. What are we talking? Every year? I mean, because remember, if we do it every year, those dollars they cost don't go to something else.
Right.
Every 2 years.
I'm actually thinking every 5 years would be a good, because then you I just don't think there's going to be as much movement on the 1, 2,
Right.
and 3 year train. It's time scale.
Right.
And just for, like you said, it costs money to do something like this. I sort of agree. I think a 5-year timeline, that's something, I'm part of a group that's trying to survey a membership in the American Meteorological Society, just to take snapshots of the membership every so often. We decided 5 years for that survey process. So that's something that I have advocated for in another project as well. So I just think that could be a good snapshot.
Carrie, you look like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what everyone is saying. And I know that there's a lot of work being done, survey work being done on climate change in general, but I feel like this is so niche that it would be really nice to have this data. That way we could argue that what we're doing is working and we want more of it, or that more is just necessary in general. And I agree. I feel like 2 to 3 years is probably often enough, but more data I feel like is probably better.
So I had an idea that if we did it every 4 years, that's like, freshmen, 4 years have passed, they graduate, 4 years later, they graduate, 4 years later, they graduate. There's a cycle, high school, like every 4 years, they go in and out, in essence. I know that's not everybody does it in 4. Some do it faster, some do it slower. But curiosity is something definitely annual, feels like it chews up too much resource, and 12 years is too infrequent. Yeah. Hey, Eric, and then Rick, and then I'm sorry, Jim.
I'm thinking about, these processes that institutions go through with like strategic planning, and oftentimes you'll create a document and it'll sit on a shelf. But I think the new thinking is that it's constant, you're constantly innovating, you're constantly moving in a direction. So if there was a way to create like a portal or a nexus for this information so that folks can revisit it during whatever gap, whatever time period the official thing happens, and then the other thing I was thinking is if the umbrella, the networks, the folks that are engaging in this sort of survey, given the climate space is really evolving and growing so much, really thinking that through, like how to disseminate this and how to really push the envelope on engaging folks in this conversation. Because I think that the audience has changed recently, and it is growing significantly.
Well, let's also remember, Eric, this is a randomized sample, right? To get a nationally representative survey. So we can't promote it because then that would be biasing the sample. But I take your wider point though. Rick, I think it was you, then Jim.
Sure. Yeah, I like that idea, Eric. I like the idea of every 4 years, you know, kind of along the high school idea. And another thought is that, you know, potentially we'd get a little more bang for the buck if the survey could be structured in a way that it is providing a little bit of education, maybe. I know you have to be really careful with that. You don't want to push them too much, but you know, I think this does have potential for being, you know, one other little tool for everybody you're doing the survey with, potentially gets a little knowledge, some capacity about, you know, bring up the topics of extreme weather, bring up, you know, have you personally experienced impacts of climate change, things like this that could really get people thinking a little bit more about how, you know, we shouldn't just be in our silos. I believe in this, I don't. It's like, how is this affecting you personally right now? I think that's something that has potential to, you know, tip the needle a little bit, and just get a little bit more of a impact from this investment. Just a thought.
One interesting thing as you look at those two surveys, the adult and the teen, is the teen one gives you some comparison between teen and adult. And there might be, and I think, Katie, this is getting to your point about resource allocation. If we were going to double survey every 4 years, meaning we have adult and teen, getting people who are under 18 surveyed is very tricky. But if we were able to do that comparison every 4 years, it would be better than having, you know, it done every 2 years with just adults. I think there's a comparison piece that's important, and just that it was not intended to be that way, but that's actually what happened in 2010 and 11. Jim.
Yeah. So a thought on the one of always trying to take the thing of understanding where other people have to be, right? I mean, we each have different roles in the climate community, and that's a strength. It's a real strength. There's not only you who are in the middle of my screen, maybe I don't know where Frankie you are in everybody's screen, but right now you're in the middle. But there is, of course, there's understanding that people are here and here and here, and they all have different points of view, and we at least have to understand their point of view and, you know, respect like what they're doing on stuff. So I mean, to me, there would be, I mean, so this is me speaking. I'm not trying to put words in the mouth of anybody and things like this, but me speaking is, it is just a reality. It's a fact that if we were to look at what NOAA is accomplishing, right, or any of us are accomplishing, every 4 years, there might be a different person, usually a man, sitting in the Oval Office. And one of those might be sitting there and take a look at something that's been accomplished and go, good, do more. That's great. Where are you going to do more? And then there might be another guy, hopefully sometime a woman, but right now another guy who comes along and says, man, we got to stop this crap. You better tone it down. I mean, you know, I don't think we should keep these people around if they're having students take action, if they're going to do anything. You know, the best we can go for is teach people how to talk about climate so they can argue whichever way they want, right? I mean, just give me, you know, that's, I think I'm just speaking factual. That happens from the top. And the more you go up, the more the people go higher, they have to talk to that guy or their people. So it's just kind of recognizing that every time we do a survey, it's like, so sometimes we're not doing enough in terms of action. And then sometimes as you do any more and you're not going to have a job left, right? I mean, just the reality. How do we navigate that? And I mean, just the thing I'm going to do is I see with the students I work with, we're trying to push it as far as we can without getting cut off, right? And without going off a cliff or something. We're trying to go for action and say climate change, science and action and so on, but recognizing that we have the freedom to do that as young people and retired people and things that others don't. We have to appreciate where other people are at. And I don't know, I guess I'm just talking around the point I would go with is climate literacy is kind of a middle ground or a place here. There are other terms that are a little stronger. Climate action is, or ACE. I mean, you know, the term ACE, which is a tough word for the US government to accept, what ACE stands for, right? those are stronger words that one person says, yeah, that's great, do more. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a thing of, if we do a survey, there's climate literacy, and at least I think those who are science-based and want to do something about climate change say, good, but there are these other levels going on too, and are we looking at those? Is that,
Sure.
if I talk about things are real?
No, these are great questions. And as we get into the construction, if this becomes a priority, then we get into the construction and what's the parameters and you know, that's a key consideration. It's going to take a multitude of funders to do this well, because single funders are vulnerable to things stopping and starting. So I take your point. Any other considerations on this? Any other points? I mean, thank you. This has been a super helpful, you know, rapid. This showed up at 12:15 for me. So today, so you've given me a very thorough and helpful consideration. So thank you. Sounds like we're good there. Any other topics? Curiosities. I'm not going to go with jokes because I'm not funny. Okay. I should use react that way, Rick. Exactly.
I was trying to say something muted. I think the jokes are good, and I'd love to hear one of Patrick's climate change stand-up jokes sometime.
All right. So we don't have to, you know, we don't have to go the full time. I do have another topic, but I've already had one. So unless somebody's got something.
Okay, I can throw one out there. I am currently working on, most of you know I'm on the board of directors for the Blue Hill Observatory and Science Center. And for various reasons, they are having their exhibit hall completely redone. And there are physical exhibits, and then there's this computer-based exhibits. And I am really helping out with the computer-based exhibits. And the high-level themes on this, the ones that are of interest to this group would be weather, climate, and environment. And so I'm trying to develop my initial storylines, and I have one now that I'm developing out for weather. But if there was a storyline that you would think of to develop out for climate, what would it be? And I'm asking you to be specific, because it is a museum exhibit. So it's not a general topic. It is a specific event or thing that then you can bring in the climate science content that explains why this is particularly happening. So I know
Related to computers, but
yeah, they'll be, so it's computer based. We can show videos, but it's not interactive in the sense that you can't play with the numbers or change a graph or anything like, you know, play with the graph or look at a different. So what I will probably do as part of it is, for the background information, I've already asked about using the NOAA and the NASA material and getting permissions to use it so that I can download the images. But that's the supporting material around some specific. So I'm trying to think of something specific that I could, that is the key, that's relevant to people. And we are in New England. So for example, for the weather one, I wanted to, since the Blue Hill Observatory has the longest continuous record of meteorological observations in the United States. It started in 1885 and has been continuous ever since. And so I identified an event that the Blue Hill Observatory had taken some data from, and then supporting it with the other data. But the one that I'm working on now is the Great New England Hurricane of 1938. Now, challenges there are that we don't have satellite pictures of such a hurricane. But so that's the weather one. But I'm looking for one my initial try of a compelling topic around climate change that have local relevance, and then support bringing in the more general science content behind that.
So first hand I saw relative, that was Rick.
Sure. Yeah, no, that sounds like a neat project. In my experience and the research I've seen, the most impactful, you know, bang for our time and energy buck is those stories connected to the local place, like you're thinking about, and something that's also hopeful too, right? So I think we really need to get that climate story out there over and over and over. You know, repetition is our friend, and so if you can figure out a local story that relates to an extreme weather event that happened recently. I like the idea of the 1938 hurricane. I'm originally from Connecticut, and so you know, I know that was a big one. Hurricane Gloria. Yeah, Hurricane Gloria was a big one too when I was there, when power got knocked out for a week, and it was one of the most fun weeks of my childhood because we played a lot of, you know, games instead of watching TV and stuff. So, you know, you could pull something from history, but if there's something recently, you know, related to Hurricane Sandy or just something that had a big impact, and then have the hopeful side of it too, right? So ways that the science helped to mitigate whatever happened, and then hopefully set up people to want to, you know more about how to support your cause with science or take action themselves or both. And so, you know, some kind of cool local story, leave them with hope and how science is going to help save the day.
So it's a bit of a challenge. One of the things that was a big impact for the 1938 hurricane was the fact that it wasn't a tremendous amount of precipitation because it went through so quickly, but the storm surge was devastating. And so we have the information about what the storm surge was. So if I could find an event that you could get at sea level rise, climate change and sea level rise, if you have a more recent event, as you said, but the Blue Hill Observatory doesn't actually do sea level measurements because it is at 650 feet above sea level. But they would have the rest of the records, all the meteorological records. So anyway, so Eric, you have a...
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Tamara. Yeah, this does sound like a really neat project. And my head went the same place, Rick, that yours did, which was, one, make it place-based. Two, make it have a solutions-oriented strand to the story, how important that is. So one example I have from California, and then I have a thought about the East. And remind me, Tamara, where are you? You're in DC or you're further north?
I'm in near Boston.
Near Boston. So for California, you know, with this 10 strands project that we proposed, we were looking for, it's California, so we were talking about place-based stuff and California relevancy. So we talked obviously about wildfires and lived experience with that, and that has emerged. You know, we're already having wildfires. It was on PBS last night that we're, you know, this is not wildfire season for California, not supposed to be, but we're already having them. So and then the air, the air that, so for kids, the air that they're breathing in their communities and this orange air that we had in the Bay Area a few years ago were just crazy, you know. But then from a solution standpoint, for California, you know, really uplifting the way that the indigenous folks would practice forest stewardship, right? And so the triple thing with California is, you know, we've been fire suppression, drought, sort of forest management practices, and then this drought as a result of climate change, and things getting hotter. So the solution is to really re-engage knowledge that we've had from groups that have been disenfranchised and aren't supported. So I think there's a story there. And so I was thinking about the East Coast and the maple trees and what's going on there, and how are folks navigating those forests, and this reduction in maple syrup production. And maybe there's some stories of success there. I don't know. I'm not familiar with what's happening there, but that, you know, I know that's a huge industry for the region.
Yeah, that's a good point.
People love maple syrup. That sounds like a good one.
Carrie?
I love that Eric brought up maple syrup because that ties into what I was going to suggest. One of the things that we're playing with in our storylines is the use of trees as proxies for past climate and using them to track climate trends over time. We are going to be reaching out to a researcher who looks at hurricanes in the Louisiana area and how you can see past hurricane events using native trees in that area and looking at their tree rings. So I'm wondering if there's something in that New England area, a kind of tree that is used as a proxy for climate that can then have a storyline developed around it. One of our current storylines is about learning about how volcanoes impact climate, and then looking at tree rings in order to identify if you can actually see the impact of a past volcanic event in the tree ring data, which you can, even though the volcano erupted, hundreds of thousands of miles away. So I'm wondering if that's something that you might be able to find for the Boston area. And maple syrup maybe is that proxy.
It's such a great idea. The maples, they're actually moving the range north, right? So that's a direct impact.
Well, that actually is a really that's a really good idea. I like that one.
Awesome. Perfect.
So Tamara, I personally would stay away from all of that. And I historically would have said every one of those, but I am shifting hard on solutions. I think, because the transformations that Boston and Massachusetts are underway to commit to are massive. And the ones I would use is the Vineyard 1 wind field that's about to go booming.
Which one?
All the Vineyard 1. Vineyard 1 wind. Vineyard 1 wind 1. I think it's Vineyard wind 1. Sorry, it's awkward to say, but it's the hub is gonna be out of New Bedford. They've already transformed an old industrial site to become the port hub for that, and that's Vineyard 1. And there's Vineyard 2. Then there's Vineyard 3. It's all about jobs. I think Massachusetts' commitment to offshore wind is something like 60% of future electricity for Massachusetts will come from those wind fields. That's no small thing. It's a business opportunity, it's a security opportunity, it's a job opportunity, it's an educational opportunity. It's huge. And it's completely unknown. The fact that I'm tracking this hard. Second, the amazing work that Boston Ready has done, the Boston Ready program for transforming
Boston Climate Ready.
Boston Climate Ready. If you haven't thought about that, like their vision is that some buildings that cannot be moved, the first floor, if it's flooded, would be completely, pull that water out after the water recedes, and then is up and running in 24 hours. Think about what you would have to do to make that building work so that if it got completely submerged, would then be ready to be occupied in 24 hours. There have visions of floating communities in Boston, where they'd have a whole neighborhood of floating buildings where they cannot make them, if you look at that plan, they've got some crazy ideas that are really, really different, but that's in the planning phase. Boston, are you ready for what's coming? Because it's going to be a very different Boston if you're going to live with sea level rise. And that for me is like, super exciting and interesting and intriguing, like floating neighborhoods. That's very different. I just think that people hear about we just got nicked in a review because they were like, that's very doom based. And the more we study the impacts, the more people don't know what we're going to do relative to decreasing those impacts. And so I just, sorry.
Okay.
6 months ago, I would have been right with you. No, I feel this.
Actually, what you should know is that these are just initial storylines, is that this exhibit will be able to be expanded over time and has multiple, so solutions, careers, DEI are all parts of this too. So it's just not every storyline will be able to encompass every single piece.
Sure.
But so both sides are great. I'll just prioritize which one I go after first.
Any other, looks like Jim and then Eric is what I have.
Yeah, so Frank, thank you. Anytime someone's bringing up solutions, thank you. It's such a big deal. I think I want to just add in a couple things of, you know, when you actually go and try something new, you got to learn a lot of things. So, I mean, I went into something with a certain knowledge, but I'm rapidly learning things that I didn't know except doing it. And I guess the couple things I'm looking for is we who look at education, which is mostly, you know, people under 18, right? And then Tamara going into the undergraduate and graduate level, but we're looking at a segment of the society that often get the message that anything to do with solutions, taking action, is not for them yet. They are to be lectured and learn, and then later they might take part in it. They can do recycling and they can maybe walk, which are important, but as far as getting any experience, hands-on experience doing anything, they're not. And I think the thing is, it's just a matter of doing some work to find the things where they can, right? I mean, windmills and things and the kind of stuff that I've done professionally is you're working with 400,000 volts. Obviously, the kids aren't going to be involved in that, right? Or even installing it, right? You do need certain training and everything, where access and being a union and all kinds of stuff. But there are areas that they can get involvement. And what level of education doesn't understand that experience and getting involvement, even if it's a subset of the whole thing, is so valuable to then just passively learning, right? So I'm getting at the thing on that. And what I would just say is what we've learned from it is just how much resistance there is to the idea that people under 18 can participate in any meaningful way, especially in fields of energy, and how wrong it is. I mean, it's more resistant to that's taking our job or our looking things, and not based on what can't be done. You know, the other one I would just want to say, maybe just reflecting on things of just a term I want to kind of play out on stuff of, Frank, as you're bringing up that, you know, the stress of what we need of like new technology and new systems and breaking with the old. I mean, you know, there's things we're going to keep, and there's, you know, it's not just get rid of everything bad, everything old is bad. That's not true. But there's a lot new, and that we have to recognize that what students are being trained for, or what they're learning, what their experience is by definition new fields, it's new areas. And I guess the one is a field I'm trying to catch myself to not say again, except with derision, is the idea of students are in a pipeline. Okay, because it's a system that just goes by and it's feeding people into the same old thing. And it's no mistake that the pipeline analogy is feeding them into fossil fuels is the thing. And I've worked with fossil fuels people. I know how it works. It's you take product like crude oil and you refine it into these different stages, these different fractions. And that's the way it works. And that's what you're doing. And that's what there's being done with people. You're taking people and you're pushing them through a pipeline and then sticking them into engineering fields and this, and a lot of it's based on gender and a lot of it's based on ethnicity and everything. Anyway, I mean, I just want to kind of encourage people to maybe say with derision, or at least not accept the idea of a pipeline. We need new, we need different. I don't necessarily have the replacement terms, but if that just helps with things, but discussion on climate, I mean, solutions is, I would hope it at least be a third of what we're doing, right? Something along that line. Thank you.
Eric, thank you. Jim?
Kind of along the lines of also, Tamara, thinking about connecting the dots maybe between this weather and climate piece. And, you know, when Wendy's been on the call, and I know we've talked about it, but, you know, PBS does a really great job lately, especially of uplifting climate in the context of their show, of their programming, so wildfires as it relates to climate. And they always make climate connections. I mean, almost every week, if not every night, there's like a climate segment on the NewsHour. And some of the more mainstream networks do less of that. I know some of them have had some initiatives to do that, but I'm thinking about like, that to me is a solution-oriented approach, like weathercasters really making those ties. And this is maybe also thinking about future topics, Gina and Frank, like when Ankar Shah was with us a number of weeks ago, the visualization tools that he's kind of created and done, there's to tell the story at the macro level and to have the tools to do that and create the assets and then kind of drill down and get to the local level and see how that plays out for folks on the ground. And what does that mean that California's in drought, and why is that happening? And the weather forecaster can speak to that. You know, they have the knowledge, they understand the weather patterns of the region. And it's a real easy leap to get to why is this happening? Why is California experiencing these? And the models are getting much more accurate at the regional and local levels. So we can say with a lot more confidence that this is happening because of a shift in the global climate patterns. So I think success stories around that, going local to global to local, local to global, the weather forecasters' involvement in that might be a nice bridge between the two things that you're working on, between the weather and the climate piece. So just some thoughts.
Yeah, no, it was always intended that there would be connections between them. I was just trying to get so we're supposed to open a minimally viable thing by sometime in the fall, and there's no money to do this. So here I am on the board of directors doing the work because there's nobody else to do it. So it's going to be slow, but you needed pieces first to then start making those connections, because there will be general background pieces that will be connected into these storylines that are the basic science that make that connection between weather and climate, especially for sea level rise and storm surges and those kinds of things. So, but I appreciate your comments.
Well, as we close out, Tamara, one person you might want to talk to is Jen Kretzer up at the Wild Center. They are just about to open a climate solutions exhibit that was funded by IMLS that I was an advisor on. She's super excited. And, but I mean, you know, she's one of the most collaborative people in the network. I don't know what that means, but if there's any assets, any collaboration opportunities between what you're trying to do and what they've just spent a lot of time doing, that might be a good place to explore some partnership collaboration opportunities.
What was the name of her exhibit? Can you?
It's, well, we always called it the Climate Solutions Exhibit. Gina, since you're up there,
I think that's what it's called. I think that's just what it's called. Yeah.
Okay, we'll contact her. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely do that. So we are at time. As we do every week, we spent another good hour together. So thank you for your collaborations. Rick, thank you for joining us today. And Patrick, nice to see you again. Hey, Patrick, how old is the little Bambino?
What was that now? Oh,
how old is the little Ben? I mean,
a year old.
What?
Yeah, she started walking 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
and that changed the game.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Gates.
Was she a crawler, or did she go straight to walking?
She started with the crawl.
Good.
But Katie, how's your little one?
She's good. She's almost 5 months now, so she's just really starting to engage and grab at things and move around her mat. I think she's going to be crawling before I know it, you know, but yeah, she's doing great.
Watch out.
It is weird that I gauge time by people's kids. You know,
okay, well, Frank, I'll add this one. My granddaughter is 11 months old now and is very close to walking.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. My 25-year-old is, you know, and you know, wow. So yeah, we've been at this game a while, so it's nice to gauge by posterity, right? So anyway, thank you all. We'll have another week to get things done. And Katie, please get the full translate, and we might as well go to German as well while you're doing the Spanish.
All the languages, all the pages, I'm on it.
11 languages sounds about right. Be well, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice to see y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.